Welcome to the Truth About Real Estate podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Ma, and I'm very excited to introduce this next guest. She runs a global coaching company called The Unstoppable Woman, where she helps thousands of women around the world to reach their professional, financial, and personal goals. She's an expert in shifting your mindset to success and loves inspiring others to make the quantum leap in their business and lives. Welcome, Amira Alvarez. How's it going? Thanks for
It's
being on our
going
show.
great. Oh, super excited. Happy to be here, Matthew.
Nice. I just talked to you at first too. You're from Northern Carolina. You're in Northern Carolina right now. You actually came from the Bay Area as well, right?
I did. I lived in Berkeley, California for over 25 years, San Francisco for a very short period of time, but that whole Bay Area, worked in the Silicon Valley, all of that.
Nice. And I wanted to ask you, like, how did you create the Unstoppable Woman, and how did you become and start working on like mastering your mindset and creating a business that actually helps people grow your business with becoming a global business coach? How did that all get started? And like, what are you doing there to help people?
Yeah, absolutely. So, first of all, I would say that I am a typical, ordinary, solidly middle class person, right? I was brought up with the belief of like, work hard, get good grades in school, go to a good college, and get a good job and do your thing in this world. But if you work hard and you're a good person, and you're diligent, you'll have success. And what I found was when I, had a long career in corporate and then I started my own business, and it was an untruth that if you build it, they will come. You have to learn how to run a business, and you have to learn how to do sales and marketing and, program development and systems and leadership and team. And there are all these aspects of being in business. And if you only have the tools of work harder, you are not, and be a good person, right? Respect people, work hard, you're not actually going to get ahead. Like, I really thought that was like, if I just kept working hard enough, I would get ahead. And what happened, Matthew, was in my third year in business, I was doing pretty well. I was growing successfully. First year in business was 30K, not much for Bay Area standards, but 30K, right? I was happy that I had gotten it off the ground. The third year in business was 90K. I felt pretty satisfied with that. That was great. I was almost at that mythical six-figure, like I really wanted it, just missed it. And then my third year in business, I made 138. So that was, what is that? Another 40, 50,000, right?
Yeah.
So not insignificant jump. So I was doing something right. But I ended up this one night, I was like at the end of the day, and my husband called upstairs and was like, "Hey, baby, dinner's ready. Come on down." And I was like, "Oh, thank you so much. I'll be right down. I just need to get one more thing done." 45 minutes later, he's like, "I'm starting," and he didn't guilt me. He didn't shame me or anything. But in my own head, I was like, this is unsustainable. And this is the classic case of the entrepreneur, is like, you're going hard and you're just going to keep going like a little rat on the hamster wheel, or little mouse on the hamster wheel. And I had this wake up moment where I was just like, this one strategy that I have, well, I had a lot of different tactics. Like, let's back up, right? I was like throwing spaghetti at the wall, kind of going, what's going to work? And I was just doing all the things. And I didn't really have a strategy. I just had hard work as the strategy. And I ended up taking a step back and looking at how success happens for people. Because, like, what does Richard Branson do? What does Oprah do? What does Beyonce do? Like, there are people with the same 24 hours in the day, having different results. So if I'm so smart and like, I'm going to flip my hair back and talk big about myself, right? What gives here? And this is where the inner game comes in. And I'm happy to share all the things that had to shift in order for me to make the income breakthrough that I did, which that year I went from 138 to 700K in one year, which is a pretty, yeah.
So making 138 and going to 700K, that doesn't really happen overnight. And the thing you mentioned is kind of the mindset shift and understanding, and you taking self-reflection to really understand like what you're doing, how's it work, how's it comparable not by people or by competition, but just comparable of what others are doing and how are they doing it really well at that level and succeeding, right? So that comes back to talking about like your mindset.
Absolutely. The successful people look at the world differently. They have
Yeah.
a different perspective. And I had to learn how to look at the world, the opportunities, the experiences, the circumstances that were right in front of me, and see them differently. Now, in order to do that, I had to change my own self-image. I had to change my own, how I saw myself, my self-image, my identity. When I was able to do that, then I saw myself as being someone who could actually do what I desired to do. Before I did that, I had a very limited perspective on what I thought was possible for myself. Now, let me explain this to your audience and
Yeah.
maybe to you a little bit. I didn't think I had a low self-image. I didn't
Yeah.
think that it was that I was lacking confidence, but my results were showing me that I was getting in my own way. My results were saying, you actually haven't done the thing that you want to do. And you can always tell where you are at from a level of awareness and mindset based on the results that you're getting. If you're getting the results that you want, then there's nothing that needs to change. Okay? But generally speaking, most people, even me, right? I walk the talk still. I have much bigger goals. You know, we're growing as a business, more impact, more fun, more love, all of that. And if I'm not there yet, that means that I need to look at how I am seeing myself, who I'm being, and change that self-image. And it really has to it comes down to changing the subconscious programming that you have about yourself.
I think that's a big deal. And I think many people don't realize it. I feel like people are on autopilot. Like I understand there's COVID-19, everything going on, but I think in general life, a lot of people are on autopilot. And that's kind of the way some people are born. They just run on autopilot, kind of like in the Matrix in a sense, right? But really what happens is if you can actually break through that, and that's hard to, it's easy to say it, but then I think people just get wound up with, I'm busy. I have so many things to do. I'm running my life. I have my kids, family, whatever going on, parents, but it's tough. But once you start realizing, hey, this life is only one, you only have really one life to live. So if you can figure out how to make a big difference and make an impact and change your mindset first and believe you can do more, because I think all of us actually have the potential to do a lot more. And only certain people actually figure it out, they can. And once they do, it becomes unstoppable because it's just our own personal limiting belief that's really stopping us from doing anything. Like I understand you're busy, but what you're doing being busy, is that really important? Could you do something better with your time and efficiency and learn more to be better and do better? It's a choice too, but you have to overcome it. I think I would ask you, how do people overcome that? If they don't even
So,
see it too, right? They might not even see
yeah.
it.
So fundamentally, I mean, obviously, I'm a mentor, I'm a coach. This is what I do. So I'm partial to this, but I worked with someone who had a higher level of awareness than I did, was working at a higher level of experience, and could point out to me, because I was in the forest for the trees or in the weeds or however you want to say that, right? Like I had blinders on, like a horse with blinders on. That's what your
Yeah.
beliefs do. They limit your perspective. And when I worked with someone who was outside of me and working at a higher level of experience and had done it before, that person pointed out all the alibis, the lies that I was telling myself, and explained, actually, it's like this. And because I was so committed to my desire, so committed to wanting to break through, I I made the decision at the get-go of that coaching experience that I was going to do exactly what he told me. I was going to listen. I was going to be coachable because my way wasn't working. I was I was working 12, 14-hour days and hitting an upper limit, and I wasn't, really growing my business and having the energy that I wanted and the self-worth that I wanted and all of that. So my way wasn't working. I had to own that first. And then I had to work with someone who had a different level of experience and perspective. And then I had to study. Okay. Now this is the part where some people like tune out, but this was super important for me. One of the things that I studied was success. How do you create success? And I really looked at the universal laws of success. Now, many people go, that's really woo-woo, Amira. That's like too far out there, law of attraction, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I take a different approach. You want to ask me a question about that?
No, no, definitely. I want to hear more about it actually, because it's really
Okay.
true.
Yeah. So I studied the 7 foundational fundamental laws of success, or universal laws, or some people call them natural laws. And they call them natural laws because you can see them in nature. You can see them playing out in nature as well as in our spiritual life. Like, these are spiritual laws and natural laws. They once you understand them, the chaos of life, the confusion of life, the randomness of life goes away, and you see the order of things. And so instead of feeling like life is happening to you, you know exactly how to behave, what actions you can take. And then it becomes great, because now you know exactly how to create whatever you want, whenever you want. And that's freedom. Okay?
Yeah.
That is like, oh my God, you're no longer like a pinball in a pinball machine, right?
Yeah.
And yeah.
I think that law of nature really works really well. Even in like my experience, like I was always mentored to coach in my life, especially when I started young in like tech industries. When I was 18, I started. But I learned from that fact is really just being open, being coachable, and learning from everyone who's helping you. Because one is you're not, for example, if I wasn't paying them, but they were actually helping me, actively helping me, coaching me, mentoring me, and saw me as like a young little brother for them. And I realized too, by just being open and learning, like you're being able to take different people's perspective of life, of business, of the way they do things, and just understand it. You can take it with a grain of salt, but by being coachable, what happens is actually you're learning to become at a higher level because you're getting experience passed to you at a quicker rate. So that way you can grow if you choose to. Some people are really not coachable. They don't want to learn anything. They don't want change. I think for me, I see a lot of people don't want change, or they say they're open, but there's like a mental barrier blocking them. And then they can't get rid of this barrier from them. And once they do, it actually opens up and they go, oh, I didn't even realize there's so much things, especially with law of nature. I would say, here's a good example. I've always been like, kind of like my personality has always been just helpful. I don't see anyone as competition. I've just been helping people. And over time, that law of nature actually attracted many people to join our team and grow. And they realized, hey, after 6 years, 10 years, 1 year, hey, I actually see what you're doing and I actually want to be a part of it now. I opened up, open to you helping me grow my business.
Yeah.
And by doing that, 6 years later, come on, and within a year, they quadrupled their business. They're like, I said, what happened? They were just ready, open, willing, and to learn. And then they showed them our 14 years of experience of marketing, sales, and tech. And by that law of attraction, by being open and coachable, their business just quadrupled.
100%. It happens every single time.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not random. It's not magic. Okay. The universe works, or life works, through law. And there's the law of cause and effect. There's the law of relativity. There's the law of gender, right? There are these laws that if you understand them, the universe no longer becomes random. And one of the things that you're doing there is giving is the first law of receiving. I do the same thing, but it required me to unlearn that it was a zero-sum game and that I had to be in scarcity and I had to be worried about money. And one of the things that I did early on, before I broke through, but I was an unconscious competent about this, was that I tithed to charities 10% of my gross revenue. And at the time, I was not, let me just tell you, when I was making 30K a year, I didn't feel like I had 10% to give to charities. I felt like that I needed everything for our livelihood.
That actually means more too. When you're giving, when you're starting to give early at an early stage, it actually means a lot more than you giving when you're super rich. That doesn't really matter as much. It helps, but doesn't matter as much. The effect of it is different.
Yeah. And what I had to do was, when I was writing that check, or, clicking online to make the donation, I had to change my energy around it from one of like, oh, is this all going to run out, to I love this. This is how it works. I'm not going to be in scarcity. I'm going to be open and trusting. And really, there's a aspect of faith that comes in there. And when you own that and you do that on a regular basis, it all comes back to you. Now, it's not without putting the causes into effect in your business. Like, you have to have a strategy and a plan and marketing, and you have to learn sales. And there are things that you need to learn, but it becomes so much easier when you're out of that limited energetic space, for sure.
I think, yeah, that positive mindset it's also really attractive, because I think when people in other businesses see you doing so well and you're having that mindset and they can just see you glowing, they actually want to help you more. They want to say, hey, she's like us. We want to help her get to the next level and see what she's doing. And she's creating a good cause benefits to everyone, because one is you're creating jobs, you're creating donations, you're creating volunteer, you're creating a better environment. So people actually naturally want to be attracted to you to join in on that fun, right? It makes a difference. And then by 100%. Doing that too, that actually helps you expand your business as well as a additional benefit, right?
Correct.
When you have a real good mission, people want to be a part of that and join you on your vision and make that believable and become true. And that actually will happen faster than people think if they actually started that with that in mind in the first place.
100%. 100%. You asked me something earlier around why do people say that they want change, but then don't take the action? Yeah. I think that's a really important thing to investigate, because so many people say, oh, I would if X, Y, and Z was in place. Like, I would if I had the money. I would if I had the time. I would if I had the education, or if I wasn't doing X, Y, and Z, or taking care of my family or the kids or the parents. There's all sorts of reasons why, when push comes to shove, they don't take action on what they know would help them. And I think fundamentally this is that they think that if they make a mistake, so when you make a decision and you take action, there's always a risk that it's not going to work out the way you intended or envisioned. Okay. Yeah. And so if you're afraid that you're going to make a mistake and what the ramifications of those mistakes are, you won't allow yourself to gain the experience. And people are fundamentally afraid of making mistakes because when they were very, very young and all the beliefs were being programmed internally, when you made a mistake, the parental units or the teacher tended to not just say, well, that's a mistake, what's the right answer, and walk you through it. There was a value judgment around it. And it made you feel like the love was cut off, you didn't belong, your safety and security was at stake because you were wrong. And there's a conflating of making a mistake and being wrong. And that's an untruth. It's not true. Okay. You can make a mistake and not be lesser in value. Okay. And that was one of the things I really had to learn. Yeah.
So I think what we do is we have to help people unlearn that and break those different kind of habits and emotional states in life, because actually even people's life, you don't know how many people said no to them, how many people failed, how many times they get their hands slapped, and that's just self-programming by other people. And really need to break those barriers and get rid of it, because even for my kids, I have 2 little ones. I learned for myself that I don't tell them no. I tell them how can they do it differently, why that might not have worked that way, why it might not be the best way, but there's other ways to think about it and how that results can affect. But the less I can say no to them, the better it becomes for me, for them, because I'm teaching them there's no right and wrong. It's how do you do things and how do you do it right, ethically and everything, and just being a good person. But how do you think about different ways to do it, right? There's so many different ways. People always say, no, that's wrong. It's not always true. There's different ways. You figure it out and learn from it. That's the challenge, teaching them how to learn.
I love it, though. I love that you have that perspective. Your kids are going to have such a different experience in life because of that one sort of framework and paradigm shift that you're helping them make. So beautiful. I love that.
Thank you. I think that's a lot of fun. And just learning about mindset, I would say in the last year or two, just starting to learn more about mindset, being open, really creates a different perspective for people. And my challenge to my agents and team is that how do I help them break through these barriers? Because for me, I broke through it. I think I broke through it a long time. I actually bought my first investment house when I was 24 in San Francisco. Yeah. And the way I did it, I was like, other people are doing this. Why can't I do it? Yeah, the Bay Area costs a lot. Even when you're 24 years old, the Bay Area costs a lot. Okay. How do I do it? I'm like, just start reading and learning. Like, no one's going to hand you money for free. No one's going to teach you for free. But there is, for example, there's a lot of books, there's audiobooks, there's YouTube, there's Google. Like, who's stopping you from looking, learning, and researching and reading everything and asking questions? No one. So
Yeah.
why don't you? But the mental barrier is like, I can't do it. No one's gonna help me. I'm stuck. I don't have money, and you can't figure it out, right? Like, is that true? No, it's a
Not
mind
at all.
issue. So how do we get rid of this block in people's mindset? And like, even when I talk to these agents, I see they're blocking their head. I can look at them and like, dude, you're clouded by all these things. If I can help you get rid of this, you're gonna double, triple your business. And we've proven, even our group of 40, I would say like 4 to 10 already broke through a lot of it, and they double, quadrupled, and even 10x their business literally. And it's just because they were open-minded to all these things.
Yeah, absolutely. So fundamentally, I think it requires that the person have a goal that they want badly enough. And that is up to them to claim. Now, I can help facilitate that. I can say, you know, you can make $1 million this year. It's going to take work, but here's how it works. Like, I've helped people do that. I've helped people cross the 7-figure mark in 1 year, do more than I did, right? That year. Okay. And I'm thrilled to be able to do that because now I understand the methodology to it. But like, I can facilitate the possibility, but the individual has to want their goal badly enough. And this requires that they either get emotionally attached with the financial number or what the financial number will mean to them. So some people have like, I want to make a lot of money in real estate or in my business or whatever it is, because then I'll be able to send my kids to college or go on trips or make an impact with my church or my charity or whatever it is, right? They have something that the money represents. Some people just have like an income goal, and that's enough to get them emotionally involved. And some people need to know how that money is going to be spent for them to be emotionally involved with it. And that is so key because desire is causative. Desire calls you forward. If you don't have a big enough desire, you won't do the things that are scary for you. And you need to be courageous. You need to do the next step. Sometimes it's picking up the phone. Sometimes it's sending the email. Sometimes it's starting a podcast, whatever it is, right? Like it's you have to do something that you've never done before. There's a risk to it. And in the beginning, that feels daunting. In order to do the thing that's daunting, you have to want it badly enough. Like the desire has to be bigger than the fear.
I think most people don't want to say they want that desire, or they don't say like why. Like, a lot of people don't figure out the why. I see it all the time. Figure out your why and you'll succeed. Everyone says that, and like, people just say, I'm tired of hearing that why. I don't do it. But the people actually who sit down and actually think about why they want to do it, what they're doing, and see that vision, like when they feel that energy and they actually focus on the why and figure out what it is, like, hey, I want to have more money for the point of more traveling, more education, more kids activities, and all this costs money, right? It takes effort. So once they figure that out and they start doing it, they'll actually make it happen. And getting over that fear is the hard part. Like, oh, I don't want to change because I'm already settled. I like the way I live. I make 5-6 digits. It's okay, right? But then if they can figure that out and say, hey, I'm willing to change, I embrace the fear, embrace the change, then they can make a huge difference in their business and personal life. But most people don't want to take that fear challenge, right?
Yes, and that's fundamentally because it hasn't been safe for them to claim their desires. Think about think about the majority of people. I don't know if this is how you were raised, so I don't want to make an assumption. But the way I was raised was, if I wanted something, let's say I fell in love with a new pair of tennis shoes, and all the little girls at school had the cute little tennis shoes, and they were K-Swiss at the time. I'm kind of dating myself, but I wanted those white K-Swiss. They were super cute, right? And I asked my parents for them, and they negated that. Not because they're bad human beings, okay? But that wasn't their value system. They were like, oh, we don't need fancy shoes. We're going to go to the cheap store and get you the knockoff brand and blah, 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 blah. But what it made me feel was that I wasn't worth it and that it was wrong to ask for what I wanted. Okay.
Yeah.
This happens around money, and it happens around time also, like claiming the time that you desire in your life. Like, for instance, when I was a little kid, it was like, hustle, hustle, hustle. Let's get out the door. Got to get to school. Got to do this. Got to do that. Okay. And I wanted to sit around like playing with my toys and painting and, just chilling out. but my parents, in order to train me to be a good citizen in the society and show up on time to meetings and things like that, taught me that, I had to stop what I was doing. And they did that by cutting off that love. Okay. Like, come on, what are you doing? That sort of offhand, aggravated moment. And that gets mapped for a little kid as, if you want something, it's not safe. You're going to lose the love, support, security of your parents. So I better not want anything. Do you see how that works?
Yeah, it's all ingrained in us and the way we're raised. And what our parents are good parents. It's just the way they were born, the way they were raised, and you're raised. But then it's your opportunity to change what you believe in, to change, to make it better, and remap some of that wiring and setups, right? So that way you can focus on how you want to raise, especially yourself, and then also to your future families, right?
Correct, 100%.
And it's so mind-boggling how everyone's different, of course, but then the fact that we can do this and actually make a change and make a difference, and it really pays off. It's like, how do I help everyone do that, right? Because some people say, yeah, I want it, but they don't do it, or I don't believe you, that doesn't work, but when you prove it over and over, every single person who actually says yes, then slowly people start saying, hey, that actually works. Okay, I'm ready now. It's just about being ready, right?
Correct.
I can't force anyone.
You can't force anyone. You can open their minds. We do something called the Unstoppable Woman Income Breakthrough Summit. We have the Morning Mindset Club. We have a podcast. These are all things that people can start opening their minds to and learning. And that's a big first step for people, is to start engaging with this material on a regular basis and changing their perspective on life. That can help them get ready. Okay. That can help them get ready.
I think one part to that too is, for example, if you're like a partner, for example, husband, wife, it doesn't matter. So if you have another partner too, they have to be in the same team with you. They have to say, hey, this actually makes sense for you, for me. We're both energetic. We're both hardworking. We want to change our mindsets and do better. But if one person is stopping you, it's hard, because then you're trying to do it yourself, but you're getting blocked all the time. But you really have to kind of focus and get rid of the negativity and the mindset shift and say, hey, I'm doing this no matter what. It's going to be better for all of us. And that your life can be unstoppable if you choose to be.
Absolutely. So here's the other thing. People have different amount of risk tolerance.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was married to a great man. He's still a great man. I'm just not married to him anymore. Mm-hmm. And I was an entrepreneur at heart, even though I hadn't yet built this giant, company, 7-figure company. Mm-hmm. But I had a higher risk tolerance than he did. Now, he wasn't completely adverse to starting his own business or anything, but he had a different level of risk tolerance and approach to spending money and spending his time. And so when I started on this journey and I went all in and I, got the mentorship and committed and did all my stuff, right? Then he was uncomfortable with that. And because he didn't have the same confidence in himself, or quite frankly in me, that I had in myself and my ability to break through. And that was a challenge in the beginning. At first, he was really not supportive of the financial investments that I was making, the time investments that I was making, all of that. But I can tell you that once I started making a significant amount of money, he was totally fine with that. Okay. And started to get it, started to like understand the mindset and the belief structure and the subconscious programming, and really diving into that, because he was like, wow, she's really changed for the better. This is really working. So if you're someone who is, the entrepreneur in the couple and someone else doesn't have as big a risk tolerance, you just have to be sensitive to that, but you can't let that hold you back, because that is cutting off your purpose in life. Desire always leads the way. It's always what takes us into our next step and allows us to live out our spiritual DNA, our purpose in life. And if you say no to your next step because your spouse or your partner or your parents or your brother or your sister doesn't understand and it makes them nervous, you have now cut yourself off from your greatness. And that's your responsibility.
And I see that time and time again. I see that, and I'm like, it's so tough because they're stuck in a certain situation. And I understand it is out of love, but other person might just be scared for you, and they love you, but they are scared for what's going to happen. They don't know, for example, and they don't want you to fail, and they don't want you to feel hurt and waste your time. But that's also stopping yourself, because if you're taking that limiting the belief and blocking yourself, then how do you actually fulfill your real purpose? Because you can become so much more, and if you know you can, you probably can. You just gotta do it, and it is hard to balance that life, especially when you're married or when you have kids and you say you're trying to keep your family together. And it's hard because, like, if you block yourself, you're going to regret it. And that regret and desire goes hand in hand. And one day, hopefully no one explodes out of it into a negative way, but it's really tough mental barrier to kind of work through and shift, and also to shift the person's mindset. Because if one person's an entrepreneur, other person's like a corporate worker, it's not the same.
Totally
this
different.
person say, hey, you just stay here, just do your job, just get the hours, go home. But like the person who has the passion, desire, and the fire in them says, I can do way more than this. Why am I stuck myself in a 6 digits when I can go to 7, when I can build a company, build a team, and help our family grow better and create generational wealth? That's the hard part of it too.
Yeah. And here's the thing. When you start growing, when you start making these internal shifts and start recognizing that, the name of my company is based on this, that you can become unstoppable. Doesn't mean you don't take rest or sleep or have vacations or any of that, but it does mean that you can recognize the invisible barriers that are stopping you from growth and move through them faster than you ever thought possible, faster than you've ever done before, which means you achieve your goals faster than you've ever done before. When you start doing that, when you start walking that journey, getting on that path, the people in your life are forced to recognize that they're not doing that. Maybe not consciously, but the fact that you're doing this makes them uncomfortable, not only because you might get hurt and it's coming from a loving place, but also because it's forcing them to look at whether they're living their greatest life, whether they're living up to their potential. And that's very uncomfortable. So instead of looking at that and having a growth mindset and doing the personal work on themselves, it's much easier to say, that's crazy what you're doing.
Yep.
Okay. And I get that that's a little bit ungenerous in terms of the perspective, right? Some people are like, is that really what's happening? Is that really what I'm doing? But think about it for yourself. When someone else, maybe you Matthew, need to go back several years, but think about before you started really going for things, did you have jealousy of other people? Did you think that, they were crazy for doing things or making bad decisions, or they were, you get the thing all the time, you're a workaholic, you're working too hard. I love my business.
Yeah.
I don't work too hard. I love my business, right? But I had all this judgment in my head about other people. That was me not being willing to look at who I was being in this world and whether I was willing to change and grow.
Yeah, I see that as a lot of people say that. Even when I was growing up too, and like my parents were, luckily they were entrepreneurs, and they let me do whatever I wanted in a way, right? And I kind of learned myself, self-learning and going through things. I started working when I was 16, doing normal jobs, but then I just kept working. I regret some parts of it because I'm learning through it, right? But at the same time, by me doing that, I was able to push myself and find good mentors and coaches to help through these processes. But there is negativity in between it, especially when you start young. Like I started real estate when I was 24, but when you're young, hey, you don't have a house. For example, here's some beliefs. Hey, you don't have a house. How are you going to help me buy a house, right? Or like, oh, you're too young. You don't understand this. You don't have the financials. I'm like, by the way, I actually bought my first house when I was 24. I actually started real estate investing. I started learning all this stuff and started studying it. And I helped people buy multi-units and buy bigger properties, investing, show them the numbers, how to do it, how it makes money, how you can grow multi-millions in real estate. And people started believing it because you believe in yourself. You showed them that you know what you're doing and you're being really providing a lot of value. So they knew that I was never selling them. I educated them on the assets of real estate, how learning from all these sources helps you buy and sell, whether you're owning or renting, right? And just to grow. But the limiting the belief of that is like people see you like, hey, you look young. The perception could be that. Other things can be, for example, yourself. Like, how are you pushing through these barriers? Because the opposite comes into play when everyone's giving you this negativity. How are you overcoming those challenges? How are you learning to overcome them? How does it affect you personally? And if you can push through the challenges, then you're succeeding, right? But it's not easy because you're getting the negativity, even family. Why are you doing real estate? Why are you investing? That's risky. You're too young. You can't afford that. What happens if people don't pay rent, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but why is that stopping us, right? Because it's easy to say no. It's easy to stop. It's hard to start and hard to go.
Well, here's the thing. When you are young, an infant, to, I don't know, probably 8, 9, 10, that age, you can't support yourself. Okay? You just can't. You are completely dependent on other people, adults generally, to provide shelter, food, and love. If you are thrown out of the tribe, if you don't go along with whatever is going on in your family unit, then you're going to be like kicked out of the tribe and you won't survive. Okay.
Yeah.
We know that instinctually. This is an animal instinct, just like the calf sucks at the nibble of the cow. Instinctually, we as humans know this instinctually, that if the love is there, we are safe. And really, it's really, if the tension is there, we're safe, because you've seen people have in child abuse situations, that becomes safety, even though the love's not there. It's just any form of attention. We know that we're still going to survive. That became survivable to them. But in any case, I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent. But if you think that your survival is based on staying in the tribe, which means pleasing other people,
Yep.
okay, then you'll always keep yourself small. Now, this worked as a strategy when you were 6 months old, 3 years old, 7 years old. It worked this was exactly what you needed to do. Now you are 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. And yet you're still being run by the program that got created when you needed other people to survive. Now here's the thing, Matthew, we still need other people to survive, right? Like you need clients, you need friends, you need lovers, you need other people, but you don't need one particular person. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's a harsh thing. I know people love their husbands and wives and all of that. I'm not negating love. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
But if you think you need one client and that client alone for your survival, then you won't be able to be truthful in a sales conversation. You'll always feel like you have to jump through hoops, like that you have to manipulate the situation, or that you can't say the full truth because, God forbid, they don't like it and they reject you. Okay. And that's what everyone's fear is about. And yet it's based on an old paradigm that is outdated.
Yeah.
Makes sense? Yeah.
Makes sense. Exactly. And I think one thing we talked about earlier too is the fact that, surrounding yourself with people actually does matter, and surrounding yourself with good mindset people who have the ability to help you grow. Right. And even for us too, like, our culture is that we embrace fear and change. We want to help you. We want you to be open-minded. Tell us everything that you're feared of, that you want to change, and there's no negativity. We actually give really positive criticism to help them get through all these barriers. And then the people who actually open up and start talking about it are the ones succeeding, and the ones who are not, we're trying to break through those barriers for them and say, hey, really just try these things. I'm going to keep pushing you every single week until you're open up and talk about these things. And even friends in other companies, we're talking and having a lot of good conversations, and they're like, damn, thank you for helping me. Even though I'm in a different company, you're changing my business and practice, and the mindset is really, it's fun because that we just love everyone. And by doing that, it comes back around. People actually embrace that and like, hey, I want to be a part of that. Why am I stuck in an area where the mindset is small? My company it's competitive. Everyone is in it for themselves, rather than being a global community where we're all helping everyone to grow, because there's no competition. It's basically, how can we help everyone grow to the highest level? That's it.
100%. When you stop thinking that it's a zero-sum game, that it's a limited universe, a limited pie, you recognize that you create money. Okay? You can expand the amount of money in this world by how you're being in this world. So think about it. There's more money in circulation now than there's ever been before.
Yeah.
Okay. Think about like how much money in the time of Cleopatra versus how much money in the Renaissance versus how much money at the turn of the 20th century, right? Like the amount of money in circulation is growing year by year by year. It's not shrinking, it's growing. And why is it growing? It's because we create more value in this world. We create more opportunity in this world. So there's, and you get paid according to the value that you create. Okay. And so if you want to make more money, you got to create more value. The rub is that it doesn't have to take more work. It doesn't mean that it doesn't take any work or that diligence and effort is not a part of the package, the causes that you have to put into effect. They absolutely is. But you can also create value in lots of other ways that are not monkeys on your back kind of experiences.
So let's talk about the mindset, because you actually help coach so many different people in different types of industries. What's the first thing that you see? Like, what's the challenge that people have? And like, how do you slowly help them break through all these barriers to actually succeed to like a 7-level business?
Yeah. So fundamentally, when I'm looking at a strategic plan for someone and I'm looking at their business, what they want, and where they want to go, I'm looking at a number of things. I want to see what their goal is. What do they really desire? Sometimes that's in a fog and we have to do a little bit of digging in there, but like, what do they really want? And what does that mean to them? Where are they now? And what's stopping them from getting to that next level? I want to really identify what those blocks are for them. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. And oftentimes these are blind spots for people. They remember we started this conversation off saying like, you're in the weeds and you can only see like the blinders on like this, right? Where there's this world out here. And I have to see what are these blind spots that are limiting the person's perspective and ability to see all the opportunities that are here and are here right now. So
I'm too busy. I don't have time. I have kids. I have family. I have responsibilities. I don't make enough money. I have a full-time job. What else? I don't know how to organize. I can't delegate because I do it better than everyone else. What else do you see? All the excuses.
All of that. Oh my God. There's so many, right? So many. And they all seem reasonable to the person who's saying it. When you say these things, your subconscious is not going to get you to stop. It's called the subconscious sabotage, okay? Your subconscious mind is not going to get you to stop with anything that you don't believe is true. It's going to use the very practical, reasonable, rational alibi, if you will, for stopping that you agree with. I have kids. My kids come first. Okay, that's great. There are a lot of people with kids that come first. What if you worked from the time you drop them off at school to the time you pick them up and you're just focused during that time? That's, like be mom from this time or dad from this time to this time, right? There's also, anyways, we could work with every excuse, but the thing that you need to know is the reason you're saying you can't do it is something that you'll agree with, which is, it can be a very closed loop. How can you see that that's an excuse and not a reasonable way for it? And the way, we touched on this already, the way to know this is, are you getting the results that you want?
And most people say not exactly, probably not, because so many people could do so much more. And yeah, the closed loop system of yourself giving yourself self-doubt. And that's why people talk about affirmations. And some people say affirmations, whatever, right? What does that mean? Does it really work? It's a waste of time, right? But that is basically programming your mind to have a belief and to really make it come true. And by doing that over time, you're creating a new programming repetition that it will come true if you do it, right? And that's
absolutely
hard. That's hard
so
because people say, I don't have time to think about it.
That's the excuse though. That's the rational reason why you can't do it. But it's not, it's just an old program that's running, and you have to change that subconscious program, that subconscious belief, so that you can do it differently. One of the things that I really work on when I use affirmations is that I contextualize them with people's goals. And one of the things we have a program called the Spirit of Wealth. It's a masterclass teaching on this stuff. And we go through a whole process of identifying your goals and understanding what your 30, 60, 90-day goals are from your big goals, and what kind of habits you need to put into place to achieve those goals, and then what kind of beliefs you need to support those habits. It's from there that you create the affirmation. It has to be connected all along the way, so that you're not just randomly saying things, right? It has to be part of a bigger picture. And of course, in the beginning, it doesn't feel true at all. It feels like you're lying to yourself, but you're not.
And I think too, like, the 30, 60, 90 actually, it really works. And I think one thing is just getting the people to realize this, to sit down, take the time and to write it down, because most people they don't put the time in to actually plan it out, write it down, talk about it and think about it. And the more you think about it, the more it will become true that, hey, you can open yourself back up, because most people are just kind of closed in right now. But if they open themselves back up to what could be a possibility, and by coming to you and talking about this openly, they're already saying, yes, I'm really to be open to do it. And you're right. When you start programming yourself and to lay this out, and we even talk about it in our team, we talk about this stuff all the time. Like, how do you get there? And it really happens. But I tell them this, you joined us for a reason. Here's how we do it. And but just believe, because people get frustrated. Like, they're frustrated of all the changes that's happening, but like, just believe, know, and trust that we love you. We're here to help you. And when you get through this, at the other side of it, you're going to be way better off. And the people who do it, embrace it, do it. But the problem is the people who still won't do it.
Yeah. So here's the thing, as a mentor, as a coach, your job is to help the people who want to be helped.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Your job cannot be to execute for them.
Yeah.
Okay. If they aren't doing the work, but they come to the next coaching call in saying, I'm getting in my own way, help me figure out why I'm getting in my own way, that's a coachable person. Okay. The person who says, I'm getting in my own way, I committed to this, and now I'm a bad human being because I haven't done the work, I might as well quit. All this stuff is in my way, and they drop off, and they don't do the work, or they don't even step into doing the work with you. That's someone who doesn't yet want it badly enough. Okay. And quite frankly, they're not coachable, but that doesn't mean they're never going to be coachable. And I'm sure that's part of how you show up in this world. That's how I show up in this world, which is I do a huge number of free teachings out there. My podcast is full of coaching calls that people can listen into, or we just released the scale plan today. Like, there's all these different things that we give people so that they can get to a level of being ready to be coached, whether it's in real estate or in any other field. It's super important to like, if you recognizing yourself in any of these excuses and you're like, yep, that's me, I've done that before, I don't want to be that person anymore, but I'm not there yet. Like, I don't know how to pull the trigger on taking the next step. The thing is that you need to immerse yourself in the study of changing who you're being and your perspective on life. Listen to Matthew, go check out our podcast, figure out how you're going to adjust your mind, and don't give up on yourself, but get yourself to a place where you've heard this enough times that you start calling yourself out on the kinds of decisions you're making for yourself, and you start making more powerful decisions for yourself. Yeah.
I completely agree. I think too, you mentioned at first, like, listening to podcasts is actually really good. So they should be listening to the Unstoppable podcast. They should be listening to my podcast, Truth About Real Estate. And really what happens is when you're listening, you say, it's just like, it's slowly ingraining yourself to become open, to become coachable, and to be ready when you're ready. But by listening to all these episodes, what you hear is just other people's life, the history, what's going on. And you start to feel like, hey, I can do this too. Why am I holding myself back? And even for me, I used to like sneak in and like listen to as many podcasts. If I'm going driving, I'm not listening to radio, I'm listening to podcasts, and I'm just trying to enhance myself in health, mental, whatever it may be, and learning. And then it just gets you better day too. Like, why spend time doing nothing or doing something like, that's not valuable to your life, right? And that makes a big difference. But even for me, when I tell people, hey, listen to all these podcasts, most of them don't listen to any podcast. I'm like, why? What are you doing? I'm just driving. Okay. And that's it.
Yeah. It's fascinating. And, I run into people all the time and they ask me, well, how did you do this? And I share away.
Yeah.
And I just had, a landscaper. He's a lawn guy, right? He mows the lawn and does, weeding and stuff. And he's trying to get his business off the ground. And he's working really hard. And I started talking to him about it. And I gave him a book. And I said, go listen to this podcast and start doing this and this and this, because there's a method to how successful people become successful. It's not random. It's not luck. We do not live in a random universe. They've put themselves in the way of opportunity and they've taken advantage of it and by making powerful decisions for themselves. And I checked in with him the next time and the next time, and I've stopped asking because he hasn't read the book yet. He hasn't done it. But he needs, that is a framework that he's in. He will eventually get there if he keeps making incremental steps. Is it true that right now he's in a self-sabotaging place? Could he go faster? Absolutely. Okay. But that's where he is right now. And if you're recognizing this, if you're listening and recognizing this in yourself, just ask yourself, what could I do differently right now? Like, what's one incremental step that I could do differently? Okay, maybe I'm not going to listen to podcasts in the car, but I'm going to listen to them when I make dinner. Or maybe I'm going to spend 5 minutes every morning listening to the Morning Mindset Club, right? That's my one thing. Like, pick your one incremental step and keep that going, and then speed that up as you grow, right? You can do more and you can become someone who has a success mindset.
Really agree with that. And even before we wrap up the show, I actually want to go through a couple of things. Like, what are some of the strategies when you start talking to a new client? Like, what are the strategies that you're kind of embracing and telling them to get started? Like, once you figure out what their why is, what they want to do, like, what strategies do you kind of walk people through so they can get started?
Yeah. So fundamentally, like on a tactical side, not on a mindset side. So, okay, on a tactical side, I look at where they want to be, where they are now, and what's the gap that we have to bridge, if you will. That is a math equation. Do not make this more complicated than it is. People get really emotionally involved with it in a negative way, like that's too hard, that's going to be impossible, I'm going to have to, upturn my life. Let's first look at the math equation. Okay. And making money is mathematically easy. It's not complicated. You either need to raise your prices, sell more quantity, okay, or add a new channel of income. Those are the three ways that you can make additional revenue, increase your cash flow in your business. And you could do a combination of those three things, but you really have to look at what you're doing. So if you're in real estate, are you going to add new, income properties? Okay, that's a quantity thing if you already have those. If you've just been buying and flipping, for instance, then adding rental properties, that's an additional channel of income. Okay. So you have to look at what strategies work within that business, within this framework. And I always do the math with people. I always do a spreadsheet with them, and I help them see that it's a very simple math equation. And then we have to look at time, the person's time, as a factor in that equation as well. That's a very important point.
I think a lot of people who run businesses too, like not all of them, especially in real estate, I don't see like, really, no one has taught in real estate. I think real estate is kind of old school in the sense that they're not like corporations, and I get it. Everyone's an individual startup. You're basically on your own, and that's the hard part about it. But like, if you can actually create curriculums, create teaching, mentorship, and programs, some people do. But like, really getting people to understand their financials, understanding the numbers, understanding the different pillars to run your business, then you can start opening up and becoming more successful. Say, hey, dollar number, I'm making 6 digits, I want to get to 7. How are you doing that? What pillars are you adding, such as the ones you mentioned, and more? Like, how do I grow a team? How do I grow my sales? How do I grow to different locations? There's so many different opportunities to do it. Or how do I do different lead generations? So many different ones, but which ones are you choosing? But if you don't sit there and actually look at it and plan it and calculate it, you don't know, right? And you get stuck in that limiting belief, like, I can't do all this, I'm busy. And you're going to stay at the dollar amount you're at. But if you want to get to 7 digits, then you really have to sit there and think about it. And I talk to people, how are you going to scale your business 10 times? Like, what are you doing? Can your business sustain growing 10 times faster? Most people know, because they haven't sat down and think about it or talked to anyone and planned it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So once you have that math equation and you can kind of see this is where I'm going, then you have a GPS, right? Then you have a goal, you have the framework of a plan, and then you can start thinking, okay, what kind of leads do I need? What kind of team do I need? What kind of sales do I need? What are the things that need to come into play? And your mind will go into idea generation. Okay. And then it's up to you, or if you're working with a mentor who's done it before, it shortcuts it to order the steps and start executing on them as quickly as you can. And that's a challenge for people as well, is how quickly can they make decisions and execute. That's a big thing that I teach my clients, is be a quick decider.
Yeah, I think it's all about execution and trying. Failing, you're not failing, you're learning. So every failure I take is a learning experience, right? Just try to learn faster, try to learn cheaper, and do it better. And ask people at first, you can kind of understand their different responses. But at the same time, the faster you fail, the faster you're going to get to the top as well, right? You can learn a lot through it. Hopefully, not a lot of pain, but you can get there. And I think one thing too is that, in real estate wise, there's a lot of different perceptions of real estate, like, hey, this is a man-driven business industry, masculine business, or else it's like, actually it's not, because if you look at the results on realtors, there's actually a predominantly run by a lot of women out there too.
Mm-hmm.
So even for you, the unstoppable woman, how do we help especially women in real estate space? Because there's so many different things and variables of real estate, like, hey, you're good looking or you're not, you're old, you're tall, you're whatever, you sound whatever, you're different races, it doesn't matter. But how do we help people empower themselves to run a more successful business, get rid of all these different judgmental parts of real estate, and keep everyone safe, and to really grow a really good sustainable business for their family and life?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think for women, it's and for men as well, but I work with women primarily. Is really looking at the self-worth piece. Okay, you can be any shape and size, tall, short,
Doesn't
big,
matter.
skinny, doesn't matter. Any ethnicity, right?
Yep.
Any age, whatever. If you own your worth, meaning your value in this world, your unique value in this world, you will be able to grow your company, your portfolio, your clientele, and be extraordinarily successful. And many women, again, men have this too, but I'm speaking directly to your question about women,
Exactly.
is that they have a self-worth issue, and it comes out, they might not see it that way, but it comes out in the self-limiting thoughts. I can't do that because this.
Yeah.
Or when they're growing their team, I can't ask for what I want because I'm not worth it. It's this weird subtext to what's going on there.
Yeah, I think there is, because, for example, like I would say, some women, a lot of friends of mine, you can get judged in both ways. You get judged by men, you get judged by women. You're trying to do this, you're trying to stand out, and people don't like that when you stand out and you're becoming stronger, better. You're not competing, but then they feel that, and then they sense that, and then it goes upon themselves to kind of start limiting their beliefs again.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is going back to what we were talking about earlier. You can't do it for other people. Okay. And that in and of itself is a self-worth issue, right? If you think your worth is dependent on what other people think about you, okay, then you have given away all your power.
Exactly.
That's not where your worth comes from.
Yeah, I think like Gary Vaynerchuk, he talks about in his social media that, F everyone else, what they think. It doesn't matter. You just do what you do, learn what you want to learn, and believe in it, and just go all out and just do it, right? And people who want to be surrounded by you will be surrounded by you, and all the negative people will slowly drop away, and hopefully you can get rid of all the bad stuff, right?
Yeah. That's such an interesting discernment piece, because I don't disagree with that. On the other hand, it does depend who you're listening to. Like, if you have clients who want to grow their real estate business, they need to be listening to you. You know how to do this. They don't need to be listening to that person on Instagram who's a troll, okay? And like, or someone at their work who doesn't have big aspirations. They need to be like, there's a discernment piece. If you want to learn social media marketing, listen to Gary Vaynerchuk, Okay. He knows how to do that, right? If you want to learn real estate marketing, social media marketing for real estate, listen to Matthew, right? If you want to bust through your limiting beliefs that are keeping you from achieving your goals faster than you ever thought possible, listen to me, right? Like, right? Like figure out who's done what you want to do and go learn from them, listen to them, and like put the earmuffs on for everyone else.
Exactly. I think that's one of the best points too. Like Robert Kiyosaki, right? So he's basically done a lot and he's taught a lot, and mostly everyone has read his books, watched his videos, and everything, and follow that path. Like, why reinvent the wheel and redo these things and listen to people who have never done it and taking it in all their fears and changes, right? Just do what people have done, like you just mentioned. Listen to everyone who's been there and who's trying to help you get there too. They're trying to help you. These people are providing massive value. Take it and learn and ask questions and help other people go with you up there.
Yep. 100%.
Okay.
Yep.
Before we wrap up the show, is there anything else you want to let the audience know about, like some steps for 2021? I know everyone had a bad year. Some people had bad years, but like, how do we help end 2021 successfully for them? What can they do now to change the next 6 months, 7 months before the end of the year is up?
Well, let's play off of what we were just talking about there. Get help. It's not a shortcut, meaning you can skip steps or you don't have to do the work, but getting help allows you to move through your blocks to knowledge and your mindset so much quicker, and you'll be able to achieve your goals so much faster. So when you do that, you'll be in momentum, you'll feel better, and you'll start seeing more opportunities to be able to take advantage of. So that's what I would give people, like, immediately, that would super duper help them. And again, there's paid help, right? And then there's free help. There's tons of free help out there. So take advantage of, I know the power of investing in yourself. Like, that's a self-worth piece. It's like saying, I'm worth it. I'm committed to my life, my dreams, my goals. And there's something about making an investment that does that. But if you're not ready for that yet, don't shut off the help. Go find the podcasts, the free trainings, all of those things, and really, be unstoppable around your growth, your own personal growth.
Perfect. So let's wrap up the show. And how do people reach out to you? Where's the podcast? What's your books you have? And let us know everything about us today.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you for asking.
Go for it.
So the best place to find me is on our website, theunstoppablewoman.com. So it's theunstoppablewoman.com. And we have a free stuff page. So if you go to theunstoppablewoman.com/free stuff, we have tons of stuff there. We have the Morning Mindset Club, which is we should be charging multiple thousands of dollars for it. It's a whole program, but it's free, guys. It's a whole program that comes with an audio training every morning. It shows you, like, gives you a journal prompt if you want to do that. And then we have a lock in the learning quiz so that you're really getting this stuff in your system every day. So that's a great place to find us and to engage with this material. And then the Unstoppable Woman podcast on all podcast channels. We put out free content all the time. We just dropped something called the Scale Plan, which takes you through, how to scale your business, what the steps are. And there's it's a PDF worksheet and an audio training. There's lots of good stuff around that. And then we have a Facebook group called Be Unstoppable. And if you're a woman, sorry guys, but if you're a woman, please join us there. So you can just look up Be Unstoppable, or you can look up my name and ask to join. And we have lots of free resources in there as well, and a great group of women that are really going for more and are at all different levels, right? Some people are still in a corporate job and doing a side hustle. I've worked with many corporate women as well, guys, like, and gotten them, into multiple high six figures. So,
Nice.
It works in both ways. And then people who have already crossed the 6-figure and 7-figure mark because they want more. So really don't limit yourself and say you're not ready. You are ready when you take that step. So
You're ready now. Let's do this, right? Let's all get there right now. It's time. Like, what are you waiting for?
yeah. Exactly. 100%.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much for being on our show. Thank you, Mira, for being on our show, The Unstoppable Woman. Check us out at the Truth About Real Estate podcast on MatthewMa.com and on Apple and all the other streaming stations and on YouTube. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great day.
Bye.